So the reason I got you together was to this little podcast is about amateur boxing. It's a bit of a love letter for amateur boxing for me. It's my favourite sport. I've played a lot of sports. You know, I did football, did cricket, and anything I threw my hand at school I was good at. I was quite a naturally athletic kid. But when I did boxing, it's like you get bit by the bug and you just can't leave it. And Justin was obviously my coach, so for anyone listening, probably the four of us listening, weren't it? Justin's my coach, so he talks to me about, you know, stories of amateur boxing. It always captures me, you know. I'm like a kid with his favourite book. And I just want him to tell him again and again, tell me that story again. So I obviously boxed for Lawrence Club. Justin's my coach, and this man to my left doesn't need any introduction. Mr. Stu Gill, the legendary registrar of the Southern Counties. So yeah, you know, I just wanted to get you together because I'll explain what the podcast is about and for people who are listening and why we sort of got together. But first of all, I want you to sort of introduce yourselves. You know, who you boxed for, where did you box, when did you start, and why did you start? I'll let that one go on. Get you.
Okay. I started back in 1974. I had my brother was boxing for Hornchurch, and he'd had 6 and 1-6, and he was just a strong fighter. We went out there and just tried killing him, and I had nothing to do on a Sunday. My mum said, "Why don't you go down to the boxing gym with your brother?" So I went down there, and that was it. Once I was in there, so I couldn't, like you say, you get bitten by the bug.
Yeah.
And I can always remember my very first spar. Bearing in mind I was 10 years old, and I sparred with a lad called Martin Dukelow, whose dad was a coach, and he was a schoolboy finalist. And he didn't take them piss at me or nothing, you know what I mean? But he was just way too good. But I got frustrated because I couldn't hit him. I remember sitting down crying afterwards and going, "I'm going to come back next week and I'm going to hit him." And I must come back about a year before I finally hit him, I think. And so I had my first 4 bouts for Hornchurch.
Where's Hornchurch?
Hornchurch it's now East London, but it was Greater London then. It was more Essex, Greater London, near Romford.
Yeah.
And so that was my first 4 bouts. And my dad changed job. My dad worked at Ford's in Dagenham, moved up to Southampton, so we moved up here with him. And obviously we went straight to Southampton Boxing Club, where I had another 68 bouts for them. A couple against Lymington lads, against Lawrence boys lads, David Nash.
Yeah, you know David.
Yeah, David Nash, lovely fella. My brother had joined the Marines by then. He'd had about 60 odd bouts by then. He joined the Marines, and I used to go along and watch all the Navy shows. And he always said to me, when I was sat there, it was quite strange because I'd go in the hall and go straight to the changing rooms and sit in there while the coach, who was Tony Oxley, who was an absolute brilliant, the best coach I've ever been coached by, was in there. And he'd let me in to do while they're doing the team talk. I'm only 15. I'm sat there with my eyes wide open listening to him. And you've got a great Navy team now. And when he said to me, "What are you doing when you leave school?" And I said, "I'm going in the Marines." I'd got to the schoolboy final. And he said, "What are you doing when you leave school?" I said, "I'm going in the Marines." And he said, "Go in the Navy, you'll get more time off for boxing." Didn't need to be told twice. So I joined the Navy and had the rest of my bouts in now.
How many bouts do you have in total?
120.
Fucking hell. See, you don't see that many more.
I won once.
I was going to say, because you were on our show, weren't you? And you had your old boxing book.
I have got my boxing book.
I wanted you to bring it. I forgot to tell you about that. Yeah, that would have been great to look at. Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking, you have to show me that afterwards. All right. Yeah, brilliant. So you had 4 bouts for Hornchurch.
Yeah.
And then you moved down to Southampton.
68 for Southampton.
And then the rest for the Navy.
Yeah.
And what was your best spell of boxing, do you think?
Well, I had a period when I was a schoolboy where I won 21 out of 20 in one season. And the one I lost was a schoolboy final, which is pretty...
Who beat you?
A lad called Dave Thomas from Liverland in Liverpool. And about 3 years later, I boxed for the Navy, and we'd gone up to Liverpool, northeast. Northwest, isn't it? Sorry, yeah, I went up to the northwest to box Navy versus Liverpool. And for some reason, the lad I was due to box, I didn't box him. And I said to Tony Oxley, I said, "Oh, look, can I box him?" Because I'd seen this Dave Thomas was on there. And he said, "He's a welterweight, you're only a featherweight." I was coming in at lightweight at the time. He said, "No, only a featherweight." I said, "Listen, I really want to box him. He beat me in the schools final, really want to box him. Boxed him, beat him comfortably.
How did you make the weight?
I didn't have to make the weight. It was just, them days it was completely different.
Well, you just,
I mean, it's all right, we'll take that, that'd go. Completely different.
What would the weight difference be between those categories?
Stone.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Yeah.
No way with
About
that.
stone, But no, they wouldn't let it go now. But then, in my very first bout, I went along, I boxed a boy. Now, we'll never ever know if they meant to do it or not. I don't think they would have done, because it was wicked. But I boxed a boy, there was two brothers, Barry and Brian Edwards. I'm guessing the first name, Barry and Brian Edwards. And I boxed the wrong one. I boxed the one that had like 5-6 bouts, heavier and older. And the bell's gone, he's come out and he's hit me, boom, like that. And it's all gone black, and he's coming around, he's hitting me again. And bearing in mind, they were like 8-ounce horsehair gloves, weren't they?
Yeah, well, that's what I heard. I never knew they were.
8-ounce horsehair gloves, and he's punching me. And I got stopped in the third round. I mean, they let me take 3 rounds of that. Whereas nowadays,
you'd be gone.
They'd stop it they'd go 15 seconds into it, they'd go, whoa, hang on, this ain't right.
Yeah.
You know? And he absolutely hammered me. And I was obviously long before the days of mobile phones. And I got home, and I did big black eye. And again, when you're like 11 years old, you don't normally get these eyes, do you? And I've gone home and I've got big black eye. My mum's answered the door and she's looked at me and she's gone, you won't do that again, will you? I said, yeah, I'm fine again next Saturday. And I went along and won, and that's it. Never looked back.
What about you, Justice? Obviously, I know your story. Well, I don't know if I do know all your backstory for, You've only boxed for us, I think.
I come down to this club, Lawrence Club, when I was 11 years old.
Did you live in the area?
Yeah, and it was purely because I was in a class full of, let's say, naughty boys, and they were coming down here, and they were the tough kids of the year, and they said, come down, and I remember I rocked up here and I had a big Aaron sweater on. It was the days of Haircut 100, and I had a big sweater on. I sat down in the corner next door. He said, no, you ain't sitting down, mate, you're getting up like that. So, and I got up in my sweatshirt and boxing away, and he said, no, get your sweatshirt, you're joining in like that. And I come down a couple of times, and I had a bit of an eye for it, and I ended up sparring with the tough kids of the year, and I was moving around with them, and I was getting on, I was smacking these lads, smacking them like that, and I was getting a little bit better respect, and when we were going back to school, and I just carried on and on and on from that, and I kept asking the trainer.
Who was the coach?
Dave Hill?
No, Glyn Gates.
I know the name.
But I kept badgering him, saying, oh, can I get carded? Because it was the big thing to get carded. Just get carded, I want to get carded. You didn't get thrown at. It took ages. It took me about 8 or 9 months to even thought to look at me. And then I got carded. And I remember my first bout, it was down in Titchfield against a lad called Joey Bowers. And in the changing room,
this story,
and he'd had 5 bouts. I think the match went through. I was originally matched with a similar sort of story this year. I was on there, and he's in the changing room. He's got a big sovereign ring on, and he's just smacking his fist like that, and I'm just shaking away. Absolutely shitting myself. And then they've got a towel over me like that because I'm shaking so much. Like that. And I remember going out, and it's just in a little village hall in Titchfield. Smoke everywhere. It's all the things I remember as an amateur boxer. Smoke. And he slapped me around for 3 rounds. And then I had a bit of a break after that, and then I boxed again. Paul Dyer.
Yeah. Paul Dyer.
Paul Dyer.
No, not City anymore.
He's from Portsmouth.
No, he's
He went on.
Paul's Grove.
Yeah.
Boxed him. I thought I actually got the decision over at Bashley. It was a majority. He went on to do good things.
He won, did he?
He got the decision. I thought, we know that amateur boxing.
Talk to Paul about that, won't we?
And I carried on from there. And,
how many bouts did you have in total?
16.
And wasn't it you never boxed as a senior? You were just...
No, I had more successes as a senior.
Oh,
than
okay.
I did. As in, I lost my first two bouts, and then I won like the next 3 on 2 on a stoppage. Yeah.
Yeah. And when did you stop boxing? How old were you, both of you, when you stopped boxing?
I was 22.
Really? That's early, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I took it up when I was
Injury.
18, and I sort of on and off, but I kept going till I was in my late 20s. Was that just Navy, was it?
After I left the Navy, yeah, injury. I've still got the injury now.
Oh.
Can't punch very well. Just across
Same,
that.
yeah. Same.
No, no point. I can't punch very well.
And
with my
nose.
hand.
How old were you when you stopped then?
I never stopped being in the gym, but I think I was 20. But my nose broke. I've had, my God knows how I've had a nose job. And,
You've always said it's tough to keep seniors.
yeah.
So
Mine
you get to
was purely because I couldn't punch with my right hand. I was going to go pro. I was with the Navy team, and Terry Marsh, who went on to be world champion, he'd gone pro, and everyone was going, "Who's this promoter, Frank Warren? Who's this bloke?" You know what I mean? No one knew him. And Frank Warren took Terry, he took Keith Ferdinand, Brian Schumacher, Paul Evans, and me all went and had a word with him and that. And Paul Evans was the only one that decided he wouldn't go pro. And I was on the bags and I just couldn't punch, and I thought there's no point in trying to go pro. I thought I'll leave it a couple of months, left it 2 years, 3 years, and by then...
And it just cropped up, it wasn't like you did
no,
something
no,
that was like,
it's like, well, do you know, like when you hold the pads, if they hit the inside, that's fine.
Yeah.
If they hit the outside,
Oh, yeah.
it's done it. And it was just, every time I punch, it was like someone was twisting that. And you can't be a pro boxer with one hand.
Yeah. Well, the reason obviously we got together today was one of Justin's stories to me about the best bout. You know, one of the best bouts he'd ever seen. I think it was, you said, the best bout. He said, you know, he'd watched you box down at the Dockers Club in Southampton, and he painted. Yeah. He painted the picture for me. You know, he was setting the scene. There was smoke over the ring, and everyone was crowded around. The atmosphere was electric. I think you said you had a bit of atmosphere because of the Southampton and Pompey Dockers at that time. And he said that you boxed Teddy Turner. And then I remember wanting to do this and obviously coming to you and saying, you know, about you boxing Tenny, and you were like, yeah. And I said, you know, when you boxed him at the Dockers Club, and you said, I never boxed at the Dockers Club.
No, never once.
And I thought, great, that's his memory.
But
That's getting old for
I
you.
was there when Paul Taylor boxed Tenny at the Dockers
So that's who it was, we
and
think,
that
don't we?
was a humdinger.
Yeah.
That was a humdinger. And I watched it, and that's why I knew when I boxed Tenny, not trying to have a tear up with him. Be clever, don't get it, because otherwise I'm going to end up...
Was it 3-3?
Yeah.
Senior bout?
It was non-stop. It was, I mean, I've never known an atmosphere like it. Oh, as a memory, as a young kid.
Yeah.
I mean, how would I have been then? What year was that?
I think it was 85. I think it was...
So I was 15.
Late 84, 85.
Yeah, I mean, it was proper. I mean, there's a balcony there. You know, the whole balcony was, I mean, you wouldn't get away with it with health and safety now.
Yeah.
There's nothing, I mean, there was people on stage. It was just virtually people were virtually in the ring. It was just mental.
But it was a...
And who won?
Paul Taylor won.
Oh.
Didn't he? I think he did.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain. I just I remember is the atmosphere. That's what.
Why did you think it was in then? Did you look
Because
alike?
he was everyone talked about Stewie back then. Everyone knew him. It's just that because he was this kid that come down from London, West Ham. He was this geezer, and he boxed my coach. Where he coached me. It was Dave Nash. He was the one who sort of helped me in my earlier days. Well, when Dave Gill, after Glyn went, didn't really have a coach, and he come and took me a couple of other gyms and trained me from there.
But you did box Tenny, and that was it.
Did box
and it's
Tenny.
almost a better story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when you told me where you boxed him.
It's the most unbelievable place.
Yeah. Go on.
Park Pruitt Mental Hospital.
In Basingstoke.
In Basingstoke.
So.
It was a Basingstoke show.
Right.
And for some reason they had it in this mental hospital, and to this day, I just went along the box. You know, I don't. But I had. It was quite funny because you had the brothers there, the two brothers that were awesome that never lost.
What club?
Pinewood. Can't think their name. Collins, the two Collins.
Collins,
brothers.
yeah.
And they was in the change room talking to Tenny, going, "Oh, you'll smash this kid, you'll smash this." And I thought, I ain't gonna let him hit me. You know what I mean? And I boxed his ears off simply because I knew that he was hard punching, so I just use your feet, use your brain.
So what was he like as a boxer then?
Tanny?
Yeah.
Tough, come forward, which suited me because I was like a mover, and it suited me. Just picked him as he came in and picked him as he came in, you know, and then moved off. So no, it was and I hardly got hit simply because I used my brain because I don't want to get hit. You know what I mean?
Why was it at the mental
Yeah, I
hospital?
was going to say, who's the judges that day?
I've no. Listen, I don't know why it was at the mental hospital.
And this was a functioning mental hospital, so
It was
there's patients in there.
Yeah,
It was like
I don't think it was walking around in there. Right?
warming you up.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I think it was just in their sort of cafeteria sort of thing or something like that. But it was definitely in Parkport Mental Hospital. And
Cheap rent or something, cheap high over there, don't you?
Again, I don't know. It's I just was told you're boxing there and away you go.
Yeah,
You know?
because that was one of mine. I was thinking about what your weirdest venue is. Have you ever any weird venues? Because my first bout, I was training for a long time as a senior, and got to a show. We'd arranged a bout with a kid from Moulscombe, and it was in Portsmouth at the Hilton Hotel, and I had a minibus of my family and my family's friends and stuff, and we had a lot of people there. And then Justin goes through, and obviously because you're doing the bit with the judges and making sure I can go and weigh him, and he comes back to me and he says, "This kid ain't here. He ain't turned up." I think maybe someone from Moulscombe had phoned you, and they said it was a Friday night, and they said they thought it was on the Saturday. I thought, fucking hell. I brought a bus full of people, and that was it. And then for my first bout, because you said I was eating clean, I wasn't drinking any alcohol for like 9-10 months, and you said to me, just go and have a good time. So I went out at university. I was in the officer training corps, which is like a TA, sort of drinking club pretty much. And I was so drunk. I was unbelievably drunk on a Tuesday night, and then Justin phones me on the Wednesday and says, "I've got a bout for you." I was probably still drunk. I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it." He didn't know where I'd been, and then I had to go back. And I woke up on Thursday and I was still hungover. I felt awful. So I drove home from Chichester, where I was training at the time. I had a sleep and then jumped in the car, came down here. We jumped in the car and we went to Andover. And it was at the Swallow pub in Andover. And the reason I'm bringing this up is they were going to have it in this hall, whatever the little pub hall was. And the ring was too high. So they had it in the car park. Or maybe it was like a little tiled area. So my first bout was literally in the pub car park. First bout was literally in the pub car park.
There you go.
I think the thing I remember as well was the lad that you were boxing. I can't remember his name.
Elliot Holt, yeah.
Elliot Holt.
Sweet Science. Ricky Gaety knows it.
He all their lads, I mean, had weighed in beforehand, and he waited for Ross to get in there. And he got there, and we were sort of on time-ish, but all the club had weighed in, and he'd waited for Ross to get in to strip off. You've never seen a physique like it.
Fucking hell, yeah.
I mean, like abs. I've probably best physique you've seen of a boxer. But it didn't faze you at all. I mean, most lads you've taken, you see anyone looking like that on the scales, they would shit themselves.
Yeah, I noticed it. I thought, fucking hell, he's in good shape. But at the same time, I was excited to box, and I never really suffered from nerves that much. I just enjoyed it. But
do you remember the Nagra brothers?
They boxed it.
Yeah, they joined you, didn't they? They boxed for us originally.
Oh, yeah.
And I took the older one now. I took him along to box.
Yeah.
And he stripped off and got on the scales, and the other guy's coach come around and said, "We're not boxing him." Why not? He goes, "He looks too fit." So if he wasn't fucking fit, he wouldn't be boxing. You know what I mean? He's like, "How can you look too fit?" Yeah. So that was the
Yeah, and I think I talked to Ricky, because I didn't realise that Ricky boxed at the Sweet Science Academy. Yeah. And he said Elliot went on to box for Basingstoke and had quite a lot of bounce, actually.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he'd done well in the novices. I think he'd done quite well in the novices.
I remember he was strong. He hit me in the second round and made my ears ring. And I recovered from it. I beat him on a split, but he was sort of, not much skill, but physically a very imposing kid.
They certainly didn't have a ring like that night, though, did they?
I don't know how they did it, because
it was dark. It was dark when we boxed.
How did they get it going then? Fucking fucking hell, because, yeah. I remember even the photos from back in the day, you could, from that bout, and it was, yeah, it was dark, wasn't it? Maybe they were just had a couple of floodlights or something.
Cat flashing.
Yeah. But then it was the polar opposite for my second bout, because it was at Newbury Racecourse, wasn't it? It was unbelievable venue, really quality. What about you? What's the best venue you've boxed at? Or the worst?
I think the best I ever actually boxed at was mostly HMS Nelson. It's a big 2,000 people fit in there and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Is that in Fareham?
That's in
Is that Portsmouth? Oh.
Yeah, HMS Nelson, as you go in, it's where they had all the combined services championships and things like that. That was a really good venue. As for the worst, it's got to be one in Lisbon.
Ah.
Oh, God. It was little ring. Halfway through one of the rounds, a three-legged dog's run across the ring. And in the interval, these two little lads that are like obviously urchins have just got in there and just battering the hell out of each other, no gloves on, and the old crowd are going, yeah, go on. So yeah, that was, and it was expecting it to be something special because it was Navy versus like Portugal, and it was absolute dog shit.
I think one of the going back to a venue, well, not a venue so much as it was a situation. We took Lee Woolen to
I've had this
Waterlooville to box on George's show, and it was, you get there and there's bars on the windows and that, and I think it was still smoking. There was people smoking. There was literally nowhere to change, and we found the room, the only space to wait to change. And Lee was boxing his you probably know his name, Stu, but he went on.
Ryan, well, it wasn't Ryan Moore, was it?
No, he was going to box in a fight. Anyway, he boxed his top lad. Anyway, he had strippers in.
I was there.
He had strippers in, and
I was stripping. No, I was there. I remember it.
And there was glasses to come in the ring.
Because he beat him, wasn't it?
No. That was halfway through the night.
Oh right, warming up.
And they had strippers going on. Anyway, Lee went on to boxing and beat him convincingly. And we thought, fucking hell, we got to get out of here. So we had like a Casey Burgess' dad drove. We got in the fire. We're trying to find out. He's going, go out the fire exit. Go out. We're going out. We go into another room. The lad that Lee's boxed, he's in a room with his arms around the two strippers. He's in like that. He's there. He's all settled. He didn't give a shit if he lost at all. Yeah. And we just bolted straight out of there. But I won't forget that place.
Well, obviously, Ben, you had a good one, didn't you? Because you were at a white collar show recently.
Yeah.
A couple of our lads from our gym were meant to be on it. Only one of them boxed, didn't he?
Yeah.
What was your analysis of the venue? It was like, or the changing rooms.
So you had the club. It's I think it is a club.
A nightclub, yeah.
A nightclub.
Where
18. It's in Southampton. It's 1875 or 65.
1865. That's the Doctors Club.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the Doctors Club.
That's where Tenny boxed. Paul.
Yeah.
Oh fucking hell!
Oh.
What's the chance of that?
If you go upstairs to their allotted changing rooms, it looks like it's the changing room set of a strip club. The upstairs you've got, I don't know what it is about the decor of the room, but it just looked, the vibe of the area is just that it was a strip club at some point. And it just looks like it still looks like it.
And the story obviously was Ollie had boxed, didn't he? And he'd come back upstairs and he's like, oh, a shower.
Yeah.
I'll jump in the shower. And there was a towel hanging up, and then he gets out of the shower and there's some matey there. All right. He said, do you want a bit? And he said, nah, I'm all right.
This is 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, just 2 weeks ago.
I think that sounds pretty much like that place.
Yeah. In Lisbon, was it?
It's the upstairs is it looks like something out of the 70s.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does look like something out of the 70s.
Oh. Wow, what a time of
Full circle.
No, never knew that. Yeah, bloody hell, full circle.
Yeah, it's the same place.
Huh. Where is that then? Where's that in Southampton? You said it was rough.
You know where Debenhams is?
It is a rough area.
Oh, it's not Debenhams anymore, it's just closed down, but it's
down near Eastgate, is it? Or somewhere down there?
It's pretty much centre of the town. I don't even know what it... you've got Bernard Street, and it's off of Bernard Street, which is like, a lot of people know it's where the Dole office is.
But they had loads of shows there though, didn't they?
They do have a lot, they still do. And that switch You got a club called Switch.
It was meant to box at Switch apparently, and then the guy who was organising it pulled it because I don't know, he didn't have enough people or something, and it ended up being there. So that's why it got changed over, and he got the bout. Yeah. But.
We were saying to Ross, just before that we set this up, that there used to be so many more shows during the week.
Yeah.
For amateur boxing.
And this is one of the problems we're having. We're not allowed shows on a Sunday now, right? And they're saying we're only allowed one show a week in Hampshire because we haven't got enough officials. Now, if I'm an official, and don't matter if there's only one show, if I can do the Friday but I can't do the Saturday, if the show's on the Saturday, I'm knackered anyway, either way. So if you still got two on a Saturday, one on a Saturday, one on a Friday, I could go to one, you know what I mean, as an official. So they need, and our boxers, Hampshire boxers, are losing out on getting bouts because we're not having enough shows. We had 2 shows this season. We normally have about 8.
Yeah, that changed suddenly, didn't it? I remember we had 2 shows, and then I think we could have had more. And I think it was you, Steve from Pound for Pound. It was like 4 or 5 shows each. Billy was doing shows in the week, and then that all got pulled back. And suddenly
Tixfield always used to have a show on it during the week.
I remember going to watch. One of the first times I went to a show, we went down. Reggie Smith, wasn't it? I think it was Reggie Smith. Remember? He was boxing a Titchfield kid. It was in like a village hall. That was in the week as well. But I don't know. Yeah, it's good. I think it's a good atmosphere when you go down in the week, and you don't have.
And I don't know if either of you was there, but do you remember when we was in lockdown? We come out of lockdown on the Monday. We had a show at our gym on the Monday night. The Monday night of lockdown finishing. It was rammed. Yeah. We had like 18 bouts.
I do remember that.
You won't get enough bouts. We had 18 bouts. I'm not joking, I could have got 25. Right? We had 18 bouts, and it was blistering hot in there. But what a show. Because people have been locked up for 6 months. You know? It was like a party atmosphere in there, you know what I mean? And the 2 lads that boxed first were like all over the papers because they was the 2 lads that broke the back of, the back as a skills bout, you know what I mean? It was Ashley Sexton's little boy. Do you know Ashley Sexton?
Where's he from?
Got one of them, he's from London. He used to box for Chestnut. He boxed in the Box for England those times. He's got one of the most watched videos on YouTube where he knocks out Uzam Ahmed.
That one.
Is
that the one where the guy comes dancing down?
Yeah. Well, that's Ashley Sexton.
I know him. Yeah. I can think his face now.
Yeah, and he knocked him out. And his son had his first skills on the same show against one of our lads, and it was just a brilliant atmosphere, and it was rammed. And all right, the club made some money, but I wasn't worried about that. I just wanted to get the boys bouts, and that's what you want. I couldn't care if we had 10 shows a year and we didn't make a penny, as long as the boxers are getting bouts. Because where do they learn more? In a ring.
Yeah, you're not going to get any better experience in there, are you? That's part of the reason, obviously, of talking about amateur boxing, doing this as our, my little love letter to the sport, is because it's such a great sport, and part of it, I think, is the atmosphere you get at a show when there's either a pair of boxers or a boxer, and everyone knows who they are, and they're waiting to watch them, and then when the bout comes up, the hall might be sparsely filled, and then suddenly it's packed, and everyone's watching it, having a little look, and you don't get that at football or cricket. The batsman doesn't go walk out to the crease and everyone's loads of people turn up to watch him bat. But you do get that at boxing, and that's the difference. It's such an atmosphere when you get that. And another reason I remember is just like the community feel. It doesn't matter who you are, people will look out for you. It was my 5th bout, I think it was. I was down in Brighton, so I was a Hampshire kid in Sussex, and I was boxing it might have been City of Brighton kid. Jake boxed before. And you had to go and do his corner. The kid dislocated his shoulder, didn't he? Had to pull out. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And Matt Bell was warming me up, And obviously he would know loads of Sussex coaches, and I'm the Hampshire kid, but he was there to help. Justin had to go and do the corner. He's like, yeah, of course I can, mate. And he's taking pads for me. I thought he didn't have to do that, but he stood in where we needed him. And that's the thing. There's a lot of the main thing in boxing is it's the care, and you just want the best for the boxers and for the sport 100%. And for the sport as well. You're not necessarily just trying to look out. You want the best for your kids, obviously. But you don't remember that bout? Remember? It was a good dinner show. It was in a hotel, and Jake boxed a kid. It was one bout. I might have been on straight after him, and he stopped, and he was like pulling his shoulder, and the ref gave him a standing count for having to stop. And then it got stopped on that.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
When you had that show here, you say about people looking out for you. When you had that show here, that I think it was your last show, I had a little tiny girl having a skills bout.
Yeah.
Remember? And she brought quite a lot along because her dad's quite a well-known
Oh,
DJ.
the DJ.
In fact, he's in India at the moment. He goes all over the world DJing. So he's quite a well-known DJ. And granddad's like really well-known because he owns pubs and stuff. Like the way pub people do, you know. And so she's back. And they took a load up. They went up to Oldham. She boxed in Oldham a couple of weeks ago. They took loads up to Oldham to watch her. You know what I mean?
That's the thing, you know. You don't get that in other sports as well, where someone will have a contest, and you don't get a football team going to Kent for a match. And that would be 90 minutes, you know. You'd get a boxing coach travelling 3 hours for 6 minutes.
Well, 3 minutes. She's only 10 years old.
Skills,
Doing 3
yeah,
months.
skills, yeah.
Doing 3 1-minute rounds.
You know, and you know, I do a lot, but even some of these clubs, you know, I don't know how they do it. You know, you see like the likes of, I could bet my house if I go to a show, Sporting Ring, they're everywhere. You know, and it's unbelievable some of the commitment these clubs make. You know, they go to day. Some of them are going to, and also they're going to day shows, and then they're going to evening shows, and then they're out on a Sunday.
When we had this meeting with the people at England Boxing, I said to them, look, they said about it's not been a level 3 coach for nearly 30 years, right? And they're saying we've got to do a refresher course. 2 things about that. 1, I don't want to do a refresher course, right? And 2, if we're all going to do a refresher course, how's the level 1 refresher course going to be done by someone when I've got to do a level 3 refresher course? How's it a level 2 one? Is it going to be the same course? You know, so it don't make sense. But when we was talking about this, I said to him, look, Friday night I was in Camden. Saturday morning I was in Coventry. Saturday evening I was in Torrington. Right, Sunday I was in Essex.
That's just your social life as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Boxing,
It better be. Yeah. Right. So Sunday we went to Essex. Right.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in the gym. Saturday I was in Surrey and then down to Bournemouth. And Sunday I forget we were Sunday. Back in Coventry again.
Fucking hell. See that? It's unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah.
And then the week after Oldham with that girl. Well, no, Newcastle the week after because we was up at the schools finals, and then Oldham with the little girl.
Yeah. Justin went to Brighton once.
But that's just it. When I was boxing, we didn't have to do all this travelling because there were so many more boxers.
Well, yeah.
So many more boxers.
I remember you put a message on the coaches group about that because we were talking about, you know, where the sport's going, and it was about an article written by Colin Hart. In
1997 wrote an article about the schools, and I'd got to the schools final in 77, so I knew it was exactly 20 years after. Yeah. Right, and it was 1997. He said in 1977 there had been 40,000 entries for the schools alone. 40,000. Right? In 1997 there was less than 1,000. So,
what's that about? Now, I was wondering what that, because they used to do the schools boxing. It was called the schools boxing, wasn't it? Because they boxed in the schools.
Yeah.
And then why did that get pulled? Who pulled it?
The lefties say, no, you can't be doing this. You can't be doing that. Kids get hurt, and you know, my old boss telling me shouldn't do boxing. It teaches them to be bullies. I said, teach them exactly the opposite.
Yeah, they don't get it, do they?
Teach them exactly the opposite. You know,
it's such a misunderstanding. That's the first thing you told me. I think one of the first things when I started boxing, you know, it's such a misunderstood sport. You know, it is savage, but it's also, you know, there's a reason why someone like Chris Smith's called the gentleman. You know, it is. You know, you share something in the ring, but you know, it's afterwards. It's all it's ended there, isn't it?
Do you know what? I'm friends with so many people that I boxed.
Yeah.
So many people that I boxed. I'm good friends with. And I've gone and met them and met up with them. I don't drink alcohol, but I've gone and met them and had a coke with them and stuff like this, and you know what I mean. Yet some of the pros that are coming around now are making it. As soon as after they've boxed, they're still hating each other. And why? You know, it doesn't do nothing for our sport. And that's what you say, Chris Smith. Yeah. Absolute proper nice bloke, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I do remember going down to the Portsmouth every now and then. You're always looking around there. There was a time when the casuals were all about, and everyone's got their Stone Island on about their Dashini and that, and everyone's eyeing each other up with their.
Yeah.
And you always think, yeah, this is going to get moody, but it never did.
But you know, that's the things. You look. I think Kakachi and Warrington, they reckon, is a good sort of, you know, there's no bad blood between those two. It's all respect, and sometimes it's good. It makes a fight, like Eubank and Ben. You know, it's a bit spicy, and that is nice. But it doesn't always have to be like that. And that's the thing. People do misunderstand the sport. They think, it's going to teach kids to be violent. But part of being
sells a fight, doesn't it?
Yeah, but also is that your little alarm clock going off? I heard a little bird go. But that's part of, you know, teaching a kid, teaching a young lad as well, particularly young boys, to grow up is, you know, integrating aggression, you know, not being too soft, but also it's disciplining them, you know, so they know how to use their aggression properly, rather than, you know, being wild. But,
and carrying knives.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's a reason why boxing is one of the biggest initiatives to try and combat things like knife crime, because it works. You know, it does teach kids, how to integrate their aggression properly into their personality, doesn't it? You know, rather than, you know, I don't know what it is. I'm not sure.
Look at our gym, right? You know where we're based, right? Right in the centre of a crappy estate that's got every single day there's motorbikes riding up and down the park, there's burnt out cars, you know what I mean? And it's just every night they sit over there, a load of kids smoking weed, blooming, is it? You know what I mean? And I think to myself, if you got in here, right, we was going out hoping to get those kids off the streets. We have still got a few that come in now, you know what I mean? Not enough, but that's what we're aiming at. That's what we're aiming at. Yet we don't get no funding at all. We've got no funding coming in at all.
So but going back to like participation, why it dropped so badly, is it because they pulled the schools and that it got taken out of schools and it wasn't allowed anymore?
Yeah,
so,
very possibly.
Because I bet if every club went to their local school,
These.
Xbox,
that's part of it. But
it's a big part.
They don't go out. People don't go out.
But you were talking about, you know, things are softer now, and you get this, you know, everyone wins just by taking part. But kids don't like that. Young boys especially, don't like that because they want to know who's won. I remember I used to do cross country at school. I'd never win it. I'd come like 8th, 9th. I wasn't quite slight enough to be quick. But I'd love the challenge of trying to catch that person in front of me, and even I was 9th, I'll be 8th next time, and try and be just a couple up, because it was a competition. I know I won't win it. I know there's a couple of kids I'd just never catch them. And you were talking about video games. The reason kids love video games is because they're so competitive, and as soon as the game finishes, leaderboard, who wins, who loses. It's like,
very, very good point.
You cannot take competition away, and I think you destroy kids' motivation. But yeah, obviously, I think if we were in a couple of local schools, if every club was in a couple of local schools, you'd see participation fly up. But it's just not having that exposure with kids at a young age, I think. Because again, like you said, it's, you know, and that's why boxing was so important to me, is because when you're at school, you know, I used to coach in school sometimes, coach football, and you look at these fucking golden rules, and it's like, we are kind and gentle, you know, and it's like, if you're a young boy, you know, and they just get stuff knocked out of them at school, I think. It's so soft, and I think boxing asks so much of young kids. You know, it's not, you know, you will hear, it's not good enough. You know, a little kid, you know, a young kid, you're not slamming them, but, you know, they will know if they're not doing enough, you will tell them about it. I think kids like that. It's honest, and it demands more from them. But yeah, I don't know where we go, because schools is probably still the best attended and participated at the championships, do you think?
Yes, I know they are. Yeah, I know they are. But that's because they all want to go in. They're all young. They could have had 2, 4. I mean, they brought out the rule that you had to have 5 bouts to go into schools many years ago, right? And now it's down to 2 and that. But when they brought it out for 5 rules, at the time I thought, what club would put someone with 5 bouts in the schools? Now there's people winning it with 5 bouts. Yeah. You know? And do you remember they made it so it was like 1.5 kilos each? It's back down to 2 kilos per weight, isn't it now? It was 1.5 kilos, yeah? It was like, each one was like, so it was 32,
thinning out the
33 and a half, 35 and stuff like that. And it's because in the European Championships, that's what the weights were, and the World Championships, that's what the weights were.
Right.
So they wanted to make sure that we had the champion at that weight.
Yeah.
But not always they'd pick them and they'd go through, but sometimes their kids, they grow suddenly, don't they?
Yeah.
That's it. I've got a video of one of our lads boxing in the Southern Counties final, and he stood up in the corner and I'm talking to him in his ear. 3 weeks later, he's about 2 inches taller than me, and he couldn't make the weight.
Yeah.
Honestly, about 3 weeks, he's just suddenly gone boom, boom, boom. What do? You know, you can't odds it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's worrying, isn't it? You know. But then football's the same. You know, local leagues around here. I used to play in the Bournemouth leagues, and you had 6 divisions on a Saturday. You had 10 on a Sunday. I think now you've got 2 on Saturday and 1 on Sunday. And that's thinned, and even those leagues are smaller than they were, and some of them play each other 3 times. But I don't know, what's going on? Why are they not playing sport? Because you know they're at a senior as well. You know, they're not playing games.
How many were there registered last year then? Was that last year?
I don't know. No, what in what?
England
schools?
England boxing, you mean?
In England boxing?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you over.
Yeah,
I can't even tell you when he was in Hampshire because they've closed all that down now. Because I used to keep all the records so that I could see how much it was dropping each year. But that thing that was on about Colin Hart, that was, like I say, that was written in 1997.
Yeah.
And I remember reading it quite clearly and thinking to myself, where have those 39,000 people gone? You know, don't get me wrong, that was 4 age groups then as well, right? It was still 4 age groups when it went down to 1,000, but you had the Class A, Class B, Intermediate and Senior, right? But you had Scotland and Wales involved, okay? So they took Scotland and Wales away, didn't they? So it's just an English championship now, yeah? So that'd get rid of quite a few, you know, not loads, but that'd get rid of all the Welsh clubs and Scottish clubs, which provided some good bouts, you know?
Yeah.
And then with the England ones that are left, where have they gone? I mean, there's a lot of clubs closed. There's a lot less clubs now than there used to be.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
I
I wouldn't know. But you said there was a club in Highcliffe, didn't you? You know, and
There was a club, yeah.
Yeah, which is only. I mean, I know we've got Christchurch now, but yeah. But I think, well, to wrap it up, just on a positive note, because it's a bit bleak, isn't it? Another story Justin told me was about the best boxer he'd ever seen in the sport.
I got this one right.
Yeah, he did get this one right. He remembered it. And the way you described it was good as well. And who was he?
George Graves.
George Groves. Where was it?
York Hall.
Yeah. What was Namet?
Yeah, 8-day final.
Yeah, so yeah, the best amateur you've ever seen, that was it, yeah.
Went up to York Hall in the minibus.
Because you said we didn't have anyone in either. We had no boxers in the championship.
No, we just went out.
It was the Londons.
Little jolly day out, watched the final. But he was stand out, the best boxer. He was a big ginger kid. I wasn't big, but he had white on as well, pretty certainly white. But it was just different class compared to all the other boxers. Just picked his shots. He was clever. He was on the back foot, he was on the front foot. He was just mustard to watch.
You were saying he was just, you don't see many amateurs not headhunting either, and he was like going low,
switching
dropping
body.
to the body.
Yeah, it was just beautiful to watch.
Do you remember who he boxed?
Nope. No.
He boxed when he won the Class A schools. We had James Richardson James Richardson was the year older. We had 3 in the final that year. We had James Richardson, Danny Kent and Tony Hill, right? Danny Kent was the youngest, then Tony Hill and James Richardson, in that order. And James had won it the previous 2 years. Tony had won it the previous year. And we went up to Barking to have the bout. And halfway through James Richardson's bout, the screen on the stage come down and the police come running, right? There was like 12 bouts at night, but George Graves was meant to box that night. And the screen come down and all the police come running in and stop the show for some reason. Don't know why, couldn't tell you why. Anyway, Tony Hill won, Danny Kent lost, and James Richardson was still halfway through his bout. He was boxing John Murray.
Yeah.
Right?
Manchester,
John Murray, yeah. And police stopped the show, so we had to leave. We got back, and they wanted him to box. That was on the Friday. They said, "Can he box on the Saturday? Can they box the next day?" And I said, "We can't because his mum and dad are getting married." Right? It wasn't, but I didn't want to go back at that. So they arranged for it on the Sunday in the Midlands, where the Midlands were having their area ABA finals. George Groves boxed Josh Whale. you know Josh Whale? He's from Mexborough. He was boxing for. He's a promoter now.
For who?
Promoter and trainer. Josh Whale.
Who was he boxing for?
He was Mexborough up in Barnsley. Lovely family. Good friends with the family. And I went out there to watch it, and he's going, and Josh's dad, because I handed up to, didn't hand up to him, that was James DeGale. When I went up there to watch Josh, and that they was in, obviously George Groves in that change room, and he was a not real nice little lad, but they boxed at 57 kilos. Josh Wow is still 57 kilos. You know what I mean? He went down to bantamweight, but he was still 57 kilos. He was a little short tubby kid, but he could not fight. You know what I mean? But so yeah, and that's when I was told about Groves as well, because I'd seen him from the quarterfinals onwards. We met London in the quarterfinals, and someone said he's a kid to look out for. He was world kickboxing champion. Did you know that?
Yeah, I listened.
Yeah.
Well, I listened to his podcast. Yeah, I
Groves
listened.
was world kickboxing champion.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that until I listened to his podcast. I can't remember who he was talking to, but he said that gave him the grounding for boxing, because he said it's a bit more unregulated kickboxing. He said you could box kids much bigger. It was a bit more, you'd let a bit more go in kickboxing. I didn't know he was world champion though. I didn't know he was a good kickboxer. I didn't know he was.
No, he's a world for his age.
Oh
his
yeah,
age,
yeah.
I'm sure you can find it out. I'm sure or at
Ringer.
least that's what
He was a
all
ringer.
the talk was. He was world kickboxing champion. And so I got to know him really well through that, because we were up there, and I do like the lad. But that one when he boxed, that was at the York Hall. That was televised as well, wasn't it? Yeah, it was televised, because one of the best I've ever seen was a lad called Dudley O'Shaughnessy from West Ham, who had the fight of the night there. If you can never get it on telly, I forget who he boxed, but mate, what a humdinger! Boom, boom. Dudley O'Shaughnessy is also famous. Do you know the Rihanna song "Umbrella"?
Yeah.
Is it? There's one where they're in the bath. Don't know if it's Umbrella.
I don't know what you watching.
Where they're in the bath.
I'm sure it's a Rihanna song.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it might not be Rihanna. Is Rihanna English? Is she?
She's American.
Is she? What's the English one? Oh no, it is Rihanna. It is Rihanna. Yeah, he's in the bath with her. But that's him. He was a model, and he was in the bath with her doing in the thing. But that was him, and he had to stop boxing because he was a model. And they said, "We're not allowed to box if you're going to be a model." So, but he was an incredible fighter.
What was his name?
Dudley O'Shaughnessy. His dad's one of the pro coaches out of West Ham area. He boxed for West Ham, but his fight in the final, it was televised that same night, so I didn't go, but I watched it on telly. Incredible fight.
Well, we must have missed that and gone home early then.
So it was the
That
same.
was before-
That was the same
before-
show then. That was
It was before. Yeah, he was a welterweight. But it was before. But it was an absolutely incredible fight, non-stop. Because that was the only year they had the fight, and it was the ABA final, not the London final. Yeah, that was where it was. It was at York Hall. So
same show. You were both there. Bloody hell. There you go.
incredible fight. But he was one, because you were talking about the best I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think possibly I've got a couple. There was obviously I boxed Gary Jackie Mellon, who'd had like 45 and 145 or something like that, and was incredible. I boxed him. I won the Southern Counties junior ABAs, and my next fight was against the Midland Counties, and he was Midland Counties. He was from Derby, and boxed on the Saturday. It was not the following Saturday, but the Saturday after I was due to box him. And on the middle Saturday, my mum said, "Here, come and look at this." There's a big double-page spread about him in the Sun. Sun newspaper saying about how he's sponsored by Blackwell Miners Welfare, and they give him steak every day and stuff like this. And and what an incredible fight. And he was very, very good. But I went along thinking, if I can beat him, fucking hell, it's going to put me right up there with him. You know what I mean? He battered me, but he was incredible. So he was good.
Who did he box for?
Blackwell Miners.
Oh, all right,
Blackwell Miners, that was the name of the club. Unfortunately, he's passed away now. He died of a heart attack, and I think it might have been all that bloody steak he was eating. Get on, you know what I mean? So, but I think the best has got to be even between Terry Marsh, who was just, again, I used to spar with him. I used to
Really?
go, he was Navy team, wasn't he?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, he boxed my brother twice. He went in the Marines because of my brother. Because my brother boxed him in the ABA semi-finals, and he said to my brother, he's talking to him afterwards, he said, what's it like in the Marines? My brother was saying it's brilliant, blah, blah, blah. And 2 weeks later, we signed up. So he said to me, my brother, I think I'll have a go at that, when signed up. But do you remember Terry very well? He looked like a
Yeah. Well, I remember what he looked like. I think I got a signed autograph.
Yeah, he looked. But I tell you what, he's as tough as you can get. Tough as you can get. And he didn't shoot Frank Warren. Right?
Was that the story? Was it? I remember the.
Yeah, he got blamed for it, didn't he?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah,
he always says he didn't do it, and I believe him. And he used to spar. I sparred with him when I was in the Navy team, and again, just couldn't hit him. So he was one of my favourites for, won 3 ABA titles. So, and Brian Schumacher, who I think was probably the hardest punching. He was a middleweight. The Navy he won 3 ABA titles. Great Britain captain in the Los Angeles Olympics. He had in his. We had another good middleweight, right? It was Navy versus Army. We had another good middleweight. So he said, well, I'll go up to light heavyweight. But we had another good light heavyweight. So he said, well, I'll go up to heavyweight. And he boxed the Army heavyweight. I believe might have been Devon Bailey. Don't quote me on that, but it might have been Devon Bailey. It was an England international. Minute into it, she's got bang, hit him with his left hook, and he's gone down, boom. And he's just laying there, still like that. He was out, absolutely out. And that was at HMS Nelson.
And that was back in the day where you could just jump up. Or did he just? How did he get to the weight?
Oh, I guess he weighed him with his trainers on and everything like that. But the services is always who can you match at what weight?
Yeah.
Like I say, the Army already had a good middleweight, and the Navy had a good middleweight, and I think they most probably won those bouts as well. But so Shuey went up to heavyweight, and knocked him out, and was very unlucky as a pro. Rang me up on the Friday. Said, "What you doing? What you doing?" Rang me up on the Tuesday and said, "What you doing Friday?" I said, "Nothing, mate." He said, "Oh, I'm boxing at your call." I said, "Oh, coming up." I said, "Are you boxing?" He went, "Tony Wilson." I went, Tony, you boxing Tony Wilson? I said, "Why didn't you let me know earlier?" He said, "It's for the British title." I said, "Why didn't you let me know earlier?" He said, "I only found out today." I went, "You fucking joking me, Shuey?" He went, "No." I said, "But you won't be fit. Don't do it." He said, "That's good money. I'll do it." I said, "Don't do it." So I've gone up to I've got to, right? Gone up there, and he'd sparred him with the England team and stuff like this, and said, "Hi, he won't beat me." Ninth round, he got knocked out, but it was some fight. And then about 3 months later, he rang me. He said, "What are you doing Friday?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "I'm fighting Tony Wilson again for the British title." I said, again, this was like the Monday or the Tuesday. I said, "Shuey, don't do it," because I know he wouldn't have been training. Don't do it. Yeah, when at the third round he got knocked out this time, and bad management really. If he'd have, because I do think he was the best I've ever seen with my own eyes.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot out there, a lot of it, like Errol Christie and people like that. You know what I mean?
And the best amateurs don't always make the best pros. Sometimes you might pick a name, and he didn't make much as a pro, but so as amateurs a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, completely different world.
Yeah, you can't
and
be a normal amateur.
You know, and I know, you have not got to be good to be doing well as a pro. You can just go along, as long as you can sell tickets.
Yeah.
You can, I can tell you a funny story. A mate of mine, you know him. I'll tell you the name afterwards. He was a journeyman. He was happy to admit he's a journeyman. He had his first fight on the Saturday. He had 3 fights in 3 weeks. Had his first fight on the Saturday. On the Tuesday in the gym, he's on the bag, broke his hand. Them days he went to the hospital. They put a cast on it straight away. So he's got a cast on his hand. He said, "I got back late, so I didn't ring the promoter that night." Following morning, I rang the promoter and I said, "Look, I can't fight on Saturday." He's gone, "Why not?" He's gone, "I broke my hand." He goes, "You've got to be joking me. Where am I going to?" And this is long before the days of getting a Latvian plumber to come across and fight.
Yeah.
So he's gone, "Oh, come on." He said, you got to. I'm not going to get anyone else at this short notice. He's got a broken hand. He said, "Yeah, just soak the cast, cut it off. We've done it before. You'll be right. Pull it out at the end of the second round with a broken hand." He's going, "This is my livelihood. I've got a broken." You're not listening to me, are you? "I've got a broken hand." Mate said, "Oh, come on, we're desperate. I'm desperate." He said, "Look, I can't do it." He goes, "I'll give you another £1,000. He said, "I'll see you Saturday." Horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah. Horrendous. What you do for money, eh?